Hello and welcome back to How About That Crypto. I am your host, Bitcoin Stylist, and today we're going to talk about Helium. I reported on it yesterday, and I told you that T-Mobile had uh, inked a deal with Helium, so now T-Mobile's going crypto, and so I just wanted to. I also told you I would do a little bit of a deep dive into Helium. Kind of semi deep, just because for essence of time and complexity. But here we go. Let's dive right in and let's talk about Helium. What is Helium? I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen, jump right in. If you're listening on podcast, you can use links below to do your own research. Also, don't forget, this is not financial advice. This is for entertainment purposes only. And today I'm just talking about a project that I think is awesome. So the Helium project is it's a crypto company, and I have some articles pulled up here. This first article is on medium.com, and it's by Sagan Selin, and the title is Helium Network, Silicon Valley's Crypto Child Growing Like Magic. It's important to understand as I dive into this that Helium is probably one of the current best use cases for crypto other than speculative investing, decentralized finance, and there's been some gaming stuff. There's people are still trying to figure out loyalty rewards, like Starbucks announced that. That makes sense too, but this is really, really, really interesting. Okay, enough of that. All right, so here we go. I'm gonna just jump down here. It says how Helium Network works. Helium Network is built by users who buy Helium hotspots manufactured by third parties. Helium hotspots communicate with the Internet of Things, such as e-scooters or an item connected to the Internet, like sensors. They use LoRa, LoRa technology, which gives them a 30 to 40 mile radius of effective communication. So it's important to also know that Helium started off just with Internet of Things before they went mobile. So that's kind of, I'm going to give you a little bit of information about that. All right, so now I'm going to jump over to this other article. This is on securities.io by David Hamilton, and the title of the article is called Investing in Helium, Everything You Need to Know. The Helium token is HNT. Okay, so let's see. All right, so I'm going to read this paragraph here. So, what problems does Helium solve? There are multiple problems that Helium seeks to alleviate. Primarily, the network helps to reduce centralization. The protocol operates as a decentralized wireless infrastructure that empowers developers to create more responsive dApps or applications built on a decentralized network. The protocol's decentralized nature also improves its censorship resistant characteristics. All right. So, what do we know so far? So far, Helium is trying to build a decentralized network, like a decentralized internet. And they are doing this by having these like Wi-Fi hotspots. So think of the router in your house that sends out a Wi-Fi signal in your house, and you can jump on your computer. Your computer can connect to that Wi-Fi, or your phone can connect to that Wi-Fi, and then from that Wi-Fi they can connect to the internet. So you have the internet, and then you have the Wi-Fi router. The Wi-Fi router just sends out this signal, and you can jump on it. So with Helium, what they're doing is they have their own routers and their third-party hardware companies. So you buy your router and you set it up, and it sends a signal and said, what was that? Let's see, the previous article. 30 to 40 mile radius. I mean, that's pretty impressive, but that's only for Internet of Things like sensors and scooters and bikes and stuff like that. It's not for your phone to connect to the internet. This is just like very low amount of data transfer over the network. All right. And okay, so on that, I'm gonna scroll down here, and I'm gonna read you a little something. Okay, so say you have one of these routers in your house, and it's like next to a window. I got a friend of mine. and he's the one who turned me on to Helium. Well, actually, I had heard about Helium, but he was like already into it, which was really cool. And so he got me like to do some research. And shout out to Sean. I'm not going to say your last name, but you know who I'm talking to. Okay, so your router that you have at your house is kind of like a miner, and we talked about proof of work and proof of stake yesterday. So proof of work has miners, proof of stake only has the validator tokens. So in this, you actually are mining it, but it's not a high energy intensive process like when you're mining Bitcoin. So here you go. To mine, users can mine HNT and secure rewards. Routers pay miners for sending data to and from the internet with newly minted tokens. So here you go. Routers pay miners for sending data to and from the internet. So basically, every time someone's jumping on your signal that you're sending out from your house, then it mints new tokens. So new tokens come into existence and it mints them. Uniquely, mining is conducted using radio technology. This strategy provides more sustainability than the CPU or GPU based system. CPU, GPU are graphics cards, and that's kind of like, if you've been paying attention to this space at all, then you know that these graphic cards are what help, like with the processing of the data for the proof of work mining. Well, they're saying like they just use radio band technology, so it's super low energy. And it says notably, all miners participate in the creation of new blocks in the blockchain by being elected to an asynchronous Byzantine fault tolerant consensus group. That sounds like the information that I need to know in that sentence is that miners participate in the creation of new blocks on the blockchain. I don't even think that that's really that important in understanding how Helium works. As like a person who might use Helium, not necessarily a person who wants to really understand the underlying blockchain technology. It's like, how does Helium work as a business? Like, what are they putting together? It says the People's Network operates as a long range wireless system for low power and inexpensive Internet of Things devices. And this says stake. Users can become validator nodes and earn rewards. These nodes perform consensus group work, such as transaction validations. To become a validator for Helium, you must stake 10,000 HNT. So it looks like there's mining and validating. The validator nodes, remember I told you yesterday with Bitcoin, the validator nodes do not make money. They are just there to keep the Bitcoin miners in check. Well, on Helium, you can mine your coins, but using super low energy just by letting people use your connection. So you're sending out this frequency and people are able to jump on to that frequency, or these Internet of Things are be able to jump onto that frequency, and you get paid. And that's the mining process. And you can even stake to validate these transactions, but it requires 10,000 HNT tokens, which it would be like 40 grand right now. And you'll need to operate validator node software and keep your system up online at all times. And if you don't, you can get penalized. Okay. And it says that the HNT token is a governance token. It can be used to vote on things in the community. So basically, what do we have right now? We have this company that's saying, "Oh, I'm a crypto company, and I want to create a decentralized internet, and I'm going to start with Internet of Things, just sending out this like really simple signal that goes a long distance and through walls and stuff, and and for people who buy those routers and set them up in their house, they'll get a return on their investment by letting people use those routers. Okay, so now we're going to keep moving on. That's kind of where it started. Remember, I talked about T-Mobile and Solana and stuff like that. So I'm going to switch over to this article. So again, as I reported yesterday, Helium inked a deal with T-Mobile. This will enable Helium to grow in a really big way. I also reported that they're getting rid of their own blockchain and they're going to use Solana blockchain. And I'll talk a little bit about the Solana and T-Mobile relationship now, but I'm going to get into the Solana stuff a little bit later. So All right, this is an article in Blockworks, and it's by Jack Kubinek, and it is titled "For a $5 a month, Crypto Now Has Your Cell Plan Covered." Wireless company Helium inks a major deal with T-Mobile after months of ill fortune. Months of ill fortune. I'm assuming they're talking about helium because the price of helium has dropped off. So that goes into, and I don't know if they talk about it in this article stuff, but they talked about how the helium network only made like $6,500 last year, or a super small amount of money of revenue, because internet, it's all based on the amount of data. Well, the amount of data in Internet of Things is super slow. So now they're going after mobile because we know how much data we consume over mobile. So that should cause the value of the network to increase the more data goes over, which should have the impact of causing the value of the tokens to increase. All right. So I'm going to read these first three paragraphs. Decentralized wireless provider Helium has struck a deal to mesh its burgeoning 5G network with T-Mobile cellular coverage. The partnership is set to spawn what the companies have dubbed Helium Mobile, a subscription service starting at just $5 a month that runs Helium's decentralized network alongside T-Mobile's more established 5G grid. The idea is to reward customers with Solana native mobile tokens in exchange for sharing their data about Helium's coverage quality. So I think that's interesting because it says you can reward people for sharing the coverage quality. So like kind of sharing your data, you know how like when you start up your phone, it'll be like, do you want to send this, or your computer, do you want to send this data back to Apple or Android or Google or whatever, to make your services better? If you opt into that, you can get paid, but there's more to it than that. So I'm going to just jump down here. All right, so Helium initially used its hotspots for small packets of internet thing coverages, but it has been working on a 5G network since 2021, focusing on small cell hotspots that fill gaps in widespread coverage like T-Mobile's. So they're saying T-Mobile has this widespread coverage, but there are gaps in the coverage. And they're like, oh, instead of T-Mobile having to set up their own towers in all over the place, we can get everyday people to set up these tiny little like 5G cell, like it's similar, like just like the Wi-Fi hotspot thing. Like you're creating a 5G mobile hotspot that people can jump onto. Now, these hotspots are not the same as the Internet of Things. They can't go 20, 30 miles or whatever they said. I mean, I find that hard to believe, by the way, 20 or 30 miles. But this here is saying that I did some research earlier, and like it's really, you really want to have, there's like outdoor versions, so you can stick it on the outside of your house or the outside of your business. They also recommend taking it to cafes, so I don't know if they want you to just go and like sit there, or if they want you to plant a hotspot in a cafe without the cafe knowing it. I don't know. Or maybe it's for cafe business owners to run it. Like I'm thinking about maybe talking to the owner of the business that I manage, and seeing if we can set up one of them there, because we can offer cellular coverage there, but I think T-Mobile already covers it there. So there's some lack of clarity around where the who is the ideal person to set up one of these 5G hotspots. But nonetheless, there are places where people would benefit from purchasing the hardware and setting up the hotspots. All right, so here you go. 99% of data comes from streaming protocols like cellular, 5G LTE, and Wi-Fi, and very, very, very little actually comes from the IoT. And that's the general manager of the Helium Mobile. His name's Boris Rensky. And so Rensky continues on to say Helium's token value is tied to the volume of data on the network. So by embracing Helium 5G, which is a protocol that has an orders of magnitude higher volume of data on the network than IoT, we expect this will positively benefit the entire Helium ecosystem. So there you go. Basically, how I understand it is you can have hotspots for Internet of Things. You're not going to get a large return on that investment unless Helium's the token of the Helium value oh my gosh, the value of the Helium token goes up, then it'll be worth it. But right now, the current prices are so low, they would have to probably 10x to get anywhere near where they were at their all-time high. So, or more than 10x. But by also adding this cellular aspect and this mobile aspect to it, then it's going to increase the usage of the ecosystem. Okay. So in addition to the upside for T-Mobile is that this hybrid partnership with them enables them to give coverage in areas that are just too expensive to operate cell towers. And the move to Solana. So now we're talking about, okay, so there's like all this stuff going on. So they start off with Internet of Things, then they're like, we're going to go into mobile, and then they ink a deal with T-Mobile, and now they're moving away from their own blockchain and moving it on to Solana. Solana is focusing largely on mobile due to society's use of mobile for everything. Like they're launching their own phone, they got stores, and so like they got the Solana Saga phone that they're going to launch. So this was one of the considerations for moving Helium to Solana. Like if they're focused on mobile, then maybe Helium can be integrated into the Solana phone. Also because their layer one blockchain is not very agile. So Helium's layer one blockchain, which is their Helium blockchain, was not agile. I was listening to an interview, which I'll leave a link in the description below. I recommend you listen to the the head of the company that owns Helium called Nova Labs. He's talking about, oh, there it is. Amir Halim, that's his name. He does a great interview on the Paul Barron Network. But they were talking about how the blockchain that they had, it just wasn't very agile. They had to start, if they wanted to make changes, they had to start developing their business out off of the chain. So there was it got to the point where their blockchain was only being used to move coins, and there's no data or anything moved around on it. So they decided, why would they keep trying to maintain their own blockchain when they can just move it onto a larger blockchain? And because they need to focus on sales, partnerships, coverage, and further research and development. Also, Solana has a faster, cheaper layer one, and Solana has a ton of developers that can now work on Helium without leaving their ecosystem. And developers who are at the top of their game in this space go where the toolkits and the ecosystems are that they want to build in. And of course, the developers go to the blockchains that are well capitalized, because you got to eat, right? So you got Helium being like, hey, look, Solana is like, looks good, it looks fast, it's cheap, it's there's like a lot of similarities in the tech apparently, so the transition shouldn't be too difficult. There's a lot more developers that are building on Solana than that are coming to Helium, so they don't have to worry about onboarding people and enticing people to come over to their blockchain, because there's already this huge group of developers. And the more of the developers that are building, the more likely that there's going to be applications that are going to give utility to that blockchain. So Solana definitely fits these parameters. So now Helium can take advantage of this. So the question is, are we going to see more stuff like this? I have one more article to share with you. And this is called lightreading.com. The author is Mike Dano, and the title is With T-Mobile MVNO Deal, Helium Mobile to be World's First Crypto Carrier. What does MVNO stand for? I don't think it's that important, but let's just see what it means real quick. I'm just looking it up. Mobile virtual network operator. It's a wireless communication service provider that does not own the wireless network infrastructure over which it serves its customers. A mobile virtual network operator enters into the business agreement with a mobile network operator to obtain bulk access to network services at wholesale rates. So basically, it's like, hey, mobile network operator like AT&T, T-Mobile, Verizon, I would like to hop on your infrastructure, and I want to buy wholesale, so I'm going to buy in bulk because I'm going to build my own business. So I'll do like, think of it like I will pay the equivalent of a minimum of X amount of data usage or X amount of users, and they're like, okay, cool, so we're going to sell you access to our network, but it's almost like a private labeling something. It's like, if I wanted to make a bunch of shampoo, conditioner, and styling products, instead of actually going in and figuring out all the ingredients, I can call a company that already manufactures these things, change the scent and the packaging, put my label on it, and I'm now selling my own products. And so that's what they're doing. That's what Helium is doing with T-Mobile. All right, so now I'm just gonna scroll down here, and they're calling it DY, as in decentralized wireless. And Helium has helped usher in a new sector in the wireless industry dubbed DY. Other players in the space include like 5 other companies. One of them appears to be developing a very similar offering to Helium, but it only has 600 transmission sites. Helium has almost 1 million of those hotspot transmission sites for Internet of Things, and now they're growing their mobile hotspots. So now this has been underway, but they don't have a ton of infrastructure built. They're building it now, but working with T-Mobile means that really they just need to focus on T-Mobile's outages spots. And maybe eventually they'll just keep building and building, building, and they could jump off of the T-Mobile network and run their own network. Now, why would T-Mobile want to do that? I don't know. Or maybe T-Mobile would acquire them, but then that would defeat the whole decentralization portion of it. But anyway, okay, these DY companies hope to develop a profitable network model whereby users are rewarded with cryptocurrency for buying, activating, and maintaining their own network transmitters. The setup stands to contrast to how companies like Dish Network, Verizon spend billions of their own dollars to build and update their own wireless networks. So that is kind of in a nutshell Helium. So just real quick, basically, the part that I didn't talk about is there's also a SIM card. So you got your hotspot for Internet of Things, you got your hotspot for wireless networks, and then but you can also have a phone. You can stick a SIM card in, be a Helium Mobile customer. You're going to use the T-Mobile network, except for where there's Helium hotspot providers, then you'll jump onto that. So it'll be like constantly going back and forth between those two networks. And if you opt in to share your data, then you will get paid for that. You'll get rewarded in Helium tokens. So you get it looks like pretty cheap cell phone service, but it's only 1 gig of data. So I think we'll have to keep an eye on that. But now you can, if you want to participate in the ecosystem, you can go out and buy these Internet of Thing routers. You can buy the mobile routers and these routers, hotspot, transmission site things. And you can find links in the description below if you want to do that. And you could set it up in your business and your house and start earning your tokens. And the larger this gets, I anticipate the tokens would probably go up in value, I'm assuming. But the coolest thing about it is that you're essentially cutting out the entire you're cutting out mobile carriers eventually. I see that's going, or maybe it's just like a perfect relationship between the two. I don't know, but how cool is it for somebody to be, breaking into the mobile network sector, or creating your your own cell phone plan, like competing against Verizon and T-Mobile and stuff is very, very difficult. But now you can be part of the infrastructure and own a piece of the network. The larger the network gets, the more money you'll make and the more value those tokens would have. Not financial advice, just reporting on this thing. So what do you think about Helium? Are you going to go out and get a hotspot? Are you going to go get the SIM card? Are you going to get on that carrier? I feel like if you already have T-Mobile, then you're just going to upgrade your service by getting on this, because you're going to use the T-Mobile network, but in places where T-Mobile doesn't have good coverage, you can use the Helium network. So assuming there's coverage through a Helium hotspot there. So what are you going to do? Nothing. Watch it. Just buy the tokens. Tell me. I'd like to hear from you. And yeah, have a good day. Hodl on. Take care.